Yes, Johnny, you're right. Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
morning. I'm not too bad. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you now. I hope all the viewers can hear you as well. I'm gonna just quickly check, but look, Johnny. Yeah, I think everyone can hear you. So, Johnny, look, your first. This is the first game with the new ownership under the Saudis. You know, you've got rid of Mike Ashley finally. All these issues with the new ownership are to come to pass. But tell me how you're feeling right now, going into this first game, and how it's changed the mood around Newcastle.
I feel excited. I feel I've got a bit of hope in my football club once again, which is brilliant. It just feels very strange and very weird at the minute. It's just been really weird, really, really weird. You know, this time last week we were still in Mike Ashley's hands, and now we're the richest football club in the world. It's absolutely surreal. I can't get my head around it. But this weekend, it doesn't matter who we're playing. It's just going to be an amazing, amazing day for so many different reasons, and all the fans can come together and be one, which is just absolutely amazing.
Is it just a sense of you can finally actually dream of competing for things, trophies, maybe Champions League football, all this kind of stuff? Where before it was kind of Groundhog Day every season, wasn't it? Going into the season, you know that you're not going to compete for European football. It's just kind of and also, not only that, you also Newcastle tended to always rest their players in the cups, which I never understood. When if you're going to be at mid-table, you might as well go for a cup run, but you never did that either. So, is that kind of the feeling now amongst Newcastle? Is not necessarily, oh, we're the richest club. It's like finally we can start competing for things and actually having some excitement supporting this club.
I think that's you hit the nail on the head there. The excitement of actually being able to compete for trophies in the future. Look, this season's all about staying in the division. Has to be. We're not stupid. We're 19th in the league. I think what we do need to know is what the ambitions are for the football club immediately after this season. And the FA Cup would be, or the League Cup would be a perfect start in the next couple of years, just to get that trophy, because that's what every Newcastle fan wants, is a trophy. My dad's 57. I don't think he's ever really seen Newcastle win anything in his life. So that shows you how far it's been since Newcastle last won a trophy. I think Newcastle had best to no chance to winning the Premier League in my lifetime. Now that's gone a lot higher, and God knows where we can be in 5 to 10 years' time. But if the money's spent right, in not necessarily on the pitch, but off the pitch as well, then Newcastle can really, really put a mark down and say, look, we're here and we're going to try and catch you. Like, I look at the top four: City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United. These are massive, massive football clubs with a lot of financial power behind them, but they don't come close to us. So if we can do everything right in the beginning, I think Newcastle can really surprise a lot of people.
You think it could take as long as 5 years to start competing? Look at Man City. It took around 2 or 3 years to get into Champions League. Before that, they were also kind of a mid-table club. Although they did have a bit of investment in Shinawatra as well before they had their big investment. But do you think it could take that long, or are you looking at the next 2 3 years and thinking with major cash injection we can get this project going very quickly?
I think it was a little bit easier when Manchester City had done it, because they were mid-table and they had some good players around them. We only have one or two at best. You look at Alan St. Maximin, he's probably Newcastle's best player at the minute, and Callum Wilson, who just is our goal scorer, but he can't stay fit. Apart from them two players, Newcastle got a very, very poor side in Premier League terms. In Championship terms, it's okay. But I think we need to be careful what we wish for a little bit in terms of the next couple of years. We can't expect to be challenging for top 4, top 6 straight away. We can't, because we've got so much work that needs to be done. And I think even Amanda Staley said that last week. I think what we do need to do, though, is get the players out that aren't necessarily good enough to get into the top 10 of the Premier League, and then gel it with a few players that we can't afford now. Now, it's crazy to think who Newcastle could actually be linked with in January and who they might actually get. It's a real game changer now, real game changer. And do I think Newcastle can win a trophy in the next 5 years? Yes, I can. If they spend the money wisely, I can see them winning an FA Cup, a League Cup. I think the Premier League or anything in Europe is going to be very, very difficult because there's just so many good teams out there who have got so much of a head start on Newcastle. So let's see where we are in 5 years' time. If we've got an FA Cup or a League Cup, then that'll be absolutely phenomenal.
Well, there were rumours that Steve Bruce wasn't going to be in charge for the weekend, and now looks like, I'm assuming it's now Thursday. He hasn't been sacked yet, so I'm assuming he is going to be in charge. Is that something? Did you want him out the doors as soon as possible, or were you happy for him to stay in charge until you find someone new?
I personally would like Steve Bruce to go. That's just my personal opinion. I think in our last 37, 38 games, so which is like a whole season, we've won 7 games. That's relegation form. You're going down with that, and the rumours are that he was going to be relieved of his duties before the weekend. That's still the noises that we're getting up in the northeast. It would make, well, I say it would make sense. It doesn't really make sense anymore. But Newcastle are actually are not training today. They've got a day off. They've been in all the train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're off today. So if Newcastle were going to do it, I think they would probably do it today as we speak on Thursday morning.
Why, when they have done it already though? It's Thursday. Why wait till Thursday?
Exactly. I think the owners are trying to do things a little bit more professionally. They want to have a little look at what's going around the football club. They were at the training ground on Monday and they sat down and spoke to Steve Bruce for a couple of hours and got his opinions on everything in the football club. I think a little bit of this has to do with the fact, have they actually got the man that they want yet? There's been so many different names over just even the last 24 hours. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers was Sky Italy's favourite, and then it's been reported that he's not interested in the job an hour later. So I think Newcastle are looking at a new manager. They're looking at a new sporting or technical director. And I think as soon as they got those 2 names pretty much done, I think Steve Bruce will go. But it still wouldn't surprise me if Steve Bruce went today and Graham Jones takes charge of the game on Sunday and then Crystal Palace the week on Saturday. So I think it would be a good start for the owners if they actually got rid of Steve Bruce before Sunday, because I think the atmosphere, it would be even better. Because let's be honest, the Newcastle United Supporters Trust put out a poll after the Wolves game saying how many people would like to see Steve Bruce, and this is just out of the Newcastle United Supporters Trust members. It was 95%, 96%. So he's lost the fans. Some would argue he's lost the dressing room, and maybe for everybody concerned, Steve Bruce as well, it's probably for the best that maybe Newcastle actually part company with Steve Bruce, and Newcastle can eventually move on and start with this new adventure.
And looking at just if you look at your current squad, obviously you mentioned Alain Saint-Maximin. Do you think there's if I asked you which of your players in the squad now are going to beat you in 2 years' time, would he be the only one?
I don't think necessarily he'll be the only one. I think there's probably going to be a couple of players. I think there'll be a couple of players that will run out the contract and just stay as long as they want at Newcastle and just say, no, I want to stay. I want to try and fight for my place. I would like Alain Saint-Maximin to still be in 2 years because I think he's a quality player. Callum Wilson, again, if you can keep him fit, he scores goals, so you don't want to take a goal scorer away from your team. Joe Willock, I know Spurs fans don't like him, but Joe Willock's just been bought, and obviously he scored against Spurs last season for £25 million. He's on a long contract. I don't think he's necessarily going to go straight away, so it gives him a chance to really show what he can do now. He's going to be playing hopefully with better players in the next few months, so he could potentially still be at the football club. And that's probably about it. You could look at Sean. You can probably look at Sean Longstaff as a local lad, but he's got 6 months left on his contract, so he'll be wanting a new deal. Will they give him a new deal? It remains to be seen. But I don't think many players. I'll be surprised in the next 2 years if there's more than 5 or 6 Newcastle players that are still playing on a regular basis in this first team.
Wow, yeah, that does obviously show major changes if that's going to be the outcome. But look, let's talk about the ownership at the moment, because there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. Is it the Saudi state? Is it the Saudi investment group? All this kind of stuff. I want to ask you, do you know exactly who it is, and on a literal basis? I know it says it's a Saudi investment group, but it's headed by the Saudi state. And a lot of people say it's Saudi state. And then the second question I want to ask you is, do you care? Are you bothered? Honestly, I don't know whether you should care or not. I don't know. People say morally and ethically, these people shouldn't be anywhere near Premier League football, this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's true or not, but from that point of view, putting football aside, like the excitement of being the richest club in the world football, how does Newcastle, how are they feeling about that kind of element when people say, you know, it's the Saudi state backing this whole thing and they shouldn't be allowed to do it?
To answer the first part of your question, 80% of this football club is now being bought by the Public Investment Fund and His Royal Highness Prince bin Salman. He isn't going to be running the day-to-day operations of the football club. He's basically just a silent partner by the sound of it. He has got a representative of the PIF who will be coming back and forth from Saudi to check up on things. Yasir Al-Rumayyan. He might be at the game on Sunday. I think he wants to be at the game on Sunday, so it'll be interesting to see if he is there. And then the other 20% is shared by PCP Capital Partners, which is Amanda Staveley and her husband, Medrad Gudusi. And then the other 10% is the Reuben Brothers Sports and Media Company, who are worth nearly as much as Manchester City, just on their own. So they're very, very wealthy people as well. In regards to your second part of your question, am I bothered, and the moral and ethical stance of it, of course, I think every Newcastle fan is a little bit concerned because, again, there are a lot of allegations in regards to the Saudis in particular. But I put it back to people that are concerned. Well, were FIFA concerned when the Qatar World Cup will be in 2022, and they've got very similar human rights records and how they treat women in particular. So I think every country that has some involvement in a football club, there will be questions. I think as a Newcastle fan that just pays their money to watch the Newcastle games and wants to see Newcastle do well, that's where kind of my opinion has to be at the centre of, can Newcastle do better? And I'll let politicians and other people who know a lot more about these sort of very tough circumstances and let them talk about it, because it is difficult, because Newcastle fans are stuck in a bit of a catch-22. The person or the company I'll be asking more questions of if I wasn't a Newcastle fan is the Premier League, because the Premier League need to answer these questions, and they weren't really concerned in the end by these allegations. They were more concerned about the money, because the biggest factor, in my opinion, was the beIN Sports debacle, in the sense of the illegal streaming. And PIF have just had to pay beIN Sports £1 billion to basically get this deal done. Now, £1 billion to them is nothing, which is crazy to say, but they've just done that to get to push this takeover through. And Newcastle, as soon as that was done, it was just a matter of time. We spoke to very respected journalists up in the northeast who were told of this Wednesday morning and said that this could have been done Wednesday at 4 o'clock. It was that quick. So it just shows how close Newcastle were 18 months ago for getting this takeover done. But it is now done, and now we can move on. I think the one thing that maybe other fans forget the point, yes, it's fantastic that we've been taken over, but Mike Ashley's gone. Mike Ashley is no longer a Newcastle owner. People need to remember this, because he was the poison at our football club. He really was. And I think that gets forgotten about because of the amount of wealth that the PIF in particular have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it must be very, very exciting. And, from a Tottenham point of view, there are reports that Daniel Levy was heading the charge to try and get this takeover overturned or whatnot, which I thought was quite funny. Obviously, he would. I mean,
the cheek of it.
Yeah, of course he is.
He won the European Super League, and then he decided, no, well, not Newcastle, I'm getting this takeover. He's a hypocrite. He really is.
Of course he is. Look, we have our complaints about Daniel Levy, don't you worry. But I think there's also a fact that he's just built this £1 billion stadium to try and challenge the big boys from a financial standpoint, and then you're just muscling your way in by having this £320 billion takeover. And he's probably just I would say pulling his hair out. He doesn't have any hair, but he's probably slapping himself on the head about what he can do to compete, because now there's going to be another new kid on the block, and I'm sure he's more frustrated than anyone about this takeover, because he knows he's threatened by it. I think it's clear. For all to see. Newcastle are now going to be serious players, and it's about a matter of time, really, isn't it? It's about when, not if, really, when you start competing. Unless the only thing I would say is QPR had big owners, didn't they? And it didn't really help them. But I guess this will be different because just the sheer wealth Newcastle have is just on a different scale, isn't it? Although the QPR owners were said to be more wealthy than the City owners at the time, I think. But I think it's just a different case, isn't it? This one.
It is. I think it is a very much a different case. I keep it like in terms of the size of football clubs, QPR to Newcastle, QPR are nowhere near Newcastle as well. But just going back on, to Daniel Levy and Spurs a little bit, I think this is really important because he's been very much a hypocrite. And I know Spurs fans, like you said, have had their issues with Daniel Levy. And I think at the minute, when you look at Spurs, I don't know where Spurs are coming and going at the minute, because you've got an owner that should have sold Harry Kane. He should have sold him. Whether Spurs fans like it or not, they should have sold him. He didn't want to be at the club anymore. They should have took the money and gone, right, we can rebuild. But getting a manager like Nuno Espirito Santo, let's be brutally honest, he was out the door at Wolves. Yes, he did a good job at Wolves. But should the Wolves manager be linked with Tottenham or become the Spurs manager? I don't agree with that. I don't think he's done his job as well as he could have done. Spurs at this point are a top 6 club, top 7 club. They can attract a top name. They really can. I don't know why they were fanning about with certain managers that, let's be honest, they were never going to get Conte unless they gave him so much money. And I think he's really let you down. He's really let you down. I wouldn't say he's sold you a dream or anything, but I think he's let you down in the sense that you look at the players you've got. There's some good players there, but that Arsenal game, I was even annoyed, and I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not annoyed. I was annoyed, and I was thinking, look at some of these players here. They want loads of money. They didn't really care on the day. I couldn't name 3 players that really cared on that day. And they were just bothered about we've got to play the game. We've got to play against Arsenal. It should mean something to play against Arsenal away from home. This is a North London derby. It's the biggest game of the season for Spurs. And the fact that they didn't turn up, I was so frustrated. I'm not even a Spurs fan. And I thought that was just really, really, I thought it was a really poor showing. But like I say, I think Spurs are a little bit in limbo, but they've still got some quality players like Son and Kane. Like, I know Kane hasn't had the best start, but Son and Kane are on form and are playing well together. They're just as good as anybody in the league. They really are. So I'm still a little bit concerned, but just again, Daniel Levy, he makes my blood boil a little bit. And I'm not even a Spurs fan.
He makes all our blood boil. I can tell you that for sure, mate. You're speaking the truth, to be honest. Speaking what a lot of Spurs fans feel, to be honest, towards the board. And we are in limbo. Look, when it comes to Nuno, he was probably our 9th choice in manager when we went for in the summer. And it was a complete circus how we went about our managerial search in the summer. It was really, really unprofessional and smacked of not having a plan, lack of strategy. They didn't know what they were doing in the summer. We had all these meetings with Conte and we were going to get him through the door, and then all of a sudden we pulled the plug at the final hour because he wanted too much money or he wanted too much staff or all this nonsense. And then Pochettino, we were going for a manager who was never really available for so long. We put all our eggs in that basket. All of a sudden, we find ourselves looking for Fonseca. Then last minute, we pull out of that deal. When that's all wrapped up, we pull out of it because Paratici saw that Gattuso became available last minute, so we went for him. And then the whole social media campaign against Gattuso scrapped that. And so it was a complete mess. It was a complete mess, the managerial search. And that all started from the hierarchy. When it comes to Nuno, though, I feel bad for him because I do think he's a good manager. Yeah, do I think he's good enough for Tottenham or where we want to be? Probably not. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I do think he's a good manager in his own right. And I feel like he's come into the club. He came in because of our lack of strategy in the summer on our search. He's come in like a month late, like without signings or anything. Like he's come in very, very late for pre-season training, all that kind of stuff. He's had so many difficult things to deal with. Ndombele wanting to leave, Kane wanting to leave, a fractured squad, trying to get not that much money to spend, although we did sign a centre-back for 50 million. But other than that, we haven't spent too much money. We got rid of our 3rd highest goal scorer in Bale without replacing him. He's had a lot of problems to contend with and not a lot of time to deal with it. So I feel with him with that. But looking on Sunday, now the mood has changed around Newcastle. What are you feeling? Do you think you're going to win? Are you much more confident now of like maybe Newcastle players upping their game, looking to be part of this project? Because how important is it for you to kind of all the players, do you think, making a statement specifically on Sunday with a big performance? Do you think it's that would be a statement if you can't come out and win on Sunday?
I think every Newcastle fan is looking forward to being at the ground. There's people that haven't been at the ground for years until Mike Ashley left this football club, and now they're all coming back. Newcastle have always been spoken about with the fans are so good, but the 10,000 fans left when Rafa Benitez left and Steve Bruce came in. Now, it will be, I don't know if you're going to be at the game on Sunday, but the atmosphere is going to be absolutely incredible. I don't think we'll ever have an atmosphere like at St. James's for such a long time. It'll be, like I say, it'll be a celebration, and we haven't even kicked a ball yet. In the terms of the actual game itself, it would not surprise me if Newcastle won on Sunday, just out of pure emotion. And Newcastle's players actually going to, you know what, we need to deliver some sort of performance. It might take an say maximum wonder goal, and he takes on 3 or 4 players and puts in the top corner. Look, Spurs have got some quality players, like I've mentioned, and it will be difficult. I just think defensively Spurs are a bit of a shambles. Eric Dyer in particular just doesn't feel, if I was a Spurs fan, doesn't fill me with any confidence at all at the minute. Davinson Sanchez, again, another player, just doesn't fill me with any confidence. And I know Newcastle haven't got the best defence in the world, but I'll be going, right, let's really make it hard for them. Let's make it as hostile as possible, and let's see if we can get an early goal and even get more noise around the ground. I would have been slightly confident before takeover against Spurs, if I'm being honest, which I know you probably don't want to hear, but it's just because of where Spurs are, very up and down, very, very up and down. You win 3, you lose 3, and you win another 1. So that just shows where the Spurs are, and then you just don't know what sort of Spurs team are going to show up.
And the North London derby showed how easy it is when you outwork Tottenham, how easy it is to play against us, and that showed.
Exactly. I think again Newcastle will probably try and counter-attack. It doesn't matter who the manager is. I think Newcastle will try and counter-attack us because we have got a lot of pace going forward, and Newcastle will try and soak it up as much as they can. We've got players coming back. Shelby could be in contention. Lascelles could be in contention. Callum Wilson looks like he's going to be available, which is a massive bonus for Newcastle. And then the man who just loves scoring against Spurs, Joe Linton, should be available as well. So.
He always seems to bag like this. I don't understand. He's like the worst player in the league, like for 36 games, and he comes up against Tottenham, and he seems to have a worldie every time. It's ridiculous.
When we played Spurs before COVID was ever a thing at the new ground, which I must say is probably the best ground I've ever been to in England, and Joe Linton scored, and I remember coming out that ground thinking he didn't have many chances. He had 1 or 2. I think he had 2 chances in the whole game, put 1 away. This could be the start of him. He must be a hell of a player. He's only getting a couple of chances, and he put in the only chance he had away. And I was thinking, oh, this is the start of something. But very quickly, you do realise he isn't that, and he's probably a left winger, which is incredible when we paid so much money for him. But let's be honest, he has got a little bit about him, but he's probably. I'd still sell him for 10 million. I said this at the end of his first season. He's been here 2.5 years nearly now. I would still sell him for £10 million and make the loss, and try and get somebody else to replace him. But I'll take another goal against Spurs from him, and I'm sure he will as well.
I even remember last year at St James's Park, we played you without St Maximin or Wilson. I remember going to this game, I'm like, if we don't beat them without St Maximin or Wilson, we are rubbish. And I think we got a 2-2 draw in the end. I think Willett got a late equaliser, and that was one of the first games I was like, we're just terrible if we can't beat them. Like, no disrespect, but like they're your 2 main weapons. Without them, you really don't have too much to offer, and we still couldn't beat you. So with Wilson coming back and St Maximin, I'm in love with St Maximin. I think he's brilliant. I think he's got end product. I think he's got a great shot. Look, he can be frustrating at times, I'm sure, but I think his dribbling ability, his strength, his movement. When he's in the game, you can't stop him. When he's in full flight, it's like you just better hope he misses, because you're not stopping him, and that's how good he is.
Yeah, he really is. He is our best player. When he's got the ball at his feet, you're on the edge of your seat. He is that good. I was worried, obviously, before last week that I thought a bigger club would take him. I think now, because of the financial wealth that we have, you can tie him down as long as you want, really, as long as you want to keep him. He really is exciting. He just needs better players around him, because at the minute, every player or every opposition team are targeting him and putting two on him and making it as hard as possible. I was at Wolves last week where he did okay. He was a bit isolated. He was playing as a false nine, really, and just trying to get Newcastle up the pitch, win some free kicks. And if he had a bit of space to go on him, a bit of a mazy run, he should have scored, actually. He should have scored in the second half, had a chance, just probably 6 yards out, but it was straight at the goalkeeper. But he scored, I think, he scored against Leeds, he scored against Southampton. He's got the cross in for Wilson's goal against West Ham. It's the first game of the season.
He plays more of a striker role, doesn't he, now, instead of a...
Yeah, I don't like him like that. I have to be honest. I don't like him in that position. I think he's a better winger. I think you need him on the left-hand side at the 3 if you're playing 4-2-3-1, or you play 4. Yeah, I just think he's better from there. I think his end product could improve. I think in terms of assists, in terms of his crossing, I think his crossing can be better, which is frightening because he is a very, very good player at the minute, and he should be playing at a team that's probably higher than Newcastle, but he'd be thinking, well, if I can be a little bit patient for another year, Newcastle could potentially get back into European competition, say 2 years or so, if Newcastle can spend their money right. So hopefully he's thinking the same way I am as well.
I feel like he's a bit like a better version of Lucas Moura. That's how I see Saint-Maximin, because they've got very similar dribbling abilities, but he's got slightly better end product. Not slightly, I think he's got a much better end product, actually, Saint-Maximin. And if he had better players, right, if he had Kane and Son around him, like Lucas does, I think Saint-Maximin's output would be so much more than what Lucas offers. As much as I love Lucas, I just think Saint-Maximin, he would be a real player for us. So look, Johnny, what's your prediction then for Sunday? What score are you going with? I'm going to go spot.
You're going first on the spot. I'm going to go 2-1 home win. I think Newcastle will get the 3 points. It'll be an amazing day for so many different reasons, and I think that'll probably just get us over the line. I think Spurs will probably try and frustrate us as much as we physically can, but I just think, just with everything that's gone on in the last 10 days or so, last week or so, I'd love to see Newcastle get the first 3 points this weekend. It'd be well worth the wait. And I've just got a very, very good feeling this weekend. As much as I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you're going up to Newcastle to watch the game, but for the Spurs fans that are, it's going to be absolutely sensational. And hopefully, for a Newcastle fan point of view, we get the win.
Yeah, it's going to be rocking, isn't it? And actually, one more question. There's been a few rumours that maybe Newcastle could go in for Harry Kane at some point. You reckon? What do you reckon about that? Do you think there's any chance? Say Tottenham have another, mid-season, finish 7th or 8th, and Newcastle in the summer are spending loads of money, looking like they could challenge. You reckon there's any chance you could, in this point, you could actually persuade Kane to join Newcastle?
I think it'd be very difficult. I think let's be honest, Harry Kane wants Champions League football. We can't provide him with that right now. And he's at an age now, is he 28? 29? Yeah, 28. So I think it'd be very, very difficult to say, Harry, can you hold on a couple of years and then play Champions League football? I think probably not. But
for triple his wage, you might consider it.
I was going to say money talks, and I don't think Harry Kane's that sort of person. But if we're going, well, we can actually treble your wages, and you'll be the number 9. You'll be idolised. You'll still be playing for England every week of every national break. You'll be loved up here. I can't say it. I'd love to. I can't believe I'm even having this conversation.
Yeah,
but if Spurs want about £130 million or £150 million for Harry Kane at the minute, that's back pocket change for our owner. Like, he's 10 times, like, our majority shareholder of Newcastle.
I don't see anyone else stumping up I don't see anyone else stumping up the cash at this point other than Newcastle, to be honest. So
could you see it happening though?
No, the only way I can see it happening is if we are that bad that we're nowhere near challenging for top 4, the only way I see it happening is if Newcastle look like serious contenders for top 4, and they're willing to pay the 130 million or whatever it is Levy wants, and it looks like Tottenham are absolutely nowhere and they're not going to be challenging for Champions League. If all those things align, then there is a possibility it might happen, but I still think it's very unlikely.
It is very likely, but it is 1 degree warmer up in Newcastle, so
yeah,
you might
1 degree warmer. There you go. Well, look, Johnny, pleasure speaking to you, mate. Nice to see you, and
very much.
Good luck for the season ahead, mate.
Yeah, all the best.